In this video, I'm going to share how you can make content without being overwhelmed. My name is Simon Batchelor, I'm a marketing mentor, and I work with a lot of clients who pull a very worried face when I talk to them about making content. So in this video, I'm going to share a simple workflow that I use to make my content in a manageable and repeatable way to hopefully make you feel the same about making content. Let's get started by looking at how people digest that content that you make. So not everybody learns in the same way. How people like to absorb information differs according to one of four broad preferences. This is a potential problem because if you always create your content in the same way, probably the one you're most comfortable with, you're only engaging with a fraction of your potential audience. We all have our comfort zones, and when creating your content you probably have a preferred format and your audience has their comfort zones too. In order to connect with new people, you need to cater to their preferences too if you're going to reach them. Maybe you like writing blog posts. Unfortunately, not everybody is a big reader, not everybody has time to read. What about the people who like to listen to content during their morning commute or while doing the washing up or walking the dog? How about those who get far more from a short video than they will from carefully crafted text? After all, you're not creating the content for you, it's for the audience and the fans you seek to connect with. In order to make content for the widest possible audience, we need to make content for them to watch, read, listen and do. So the best way to make content for those four different learning styles with the limited time you have is to use a repurposing workflow. Any task becomes easier with routine, and a workflow is simply a set of sequence or tasks that help you make content something you routinely do. Here's an example of my workflow to give you an idea of what works for me. Everybody works differently, so you can make your own version based on your needs and preferences. This workflow generally takes me about an hour end to end, and I spread that all out over about a week. So let's have a look at that repurposing workflow. I start off by writing a blog on one topic, idea or concept of around 500 to 1,000 words. I then record myself presenting that blog in both audio and video, which is exactly what I'm doing now. I also record short introductions for the video and the podcast versions. I also then record a call to action at the end, which is typically an exercise, a question, something to consider, or a pointer to more content to explore. I then edit that audio recording into a podcast episode. I then edit the video recording for YouTube and LinkedIn. That works best for me. You might also like to make an Instagram version or a TikTok version. Next, I create an email that I send out to my mailing list, which has links to all the different versions of the content that I have created. So I repeat that process for every bit of content I make, and I try and put out one piece of new content a week. For me, I find that writing is the best way to get the idea out of my head into a succinct message. You could, for example, start this process by recording a video to camera and then get that transcribed and turned into a blog if you find yourself able to articulate your ideas better on video. Personally, I find myself rambling a bit when I do that, so for me I find it much easier to read what I've written from a teleprompter, as I find that makes much more engaging videos, but you can try it out and see what works for you. I send my finished blogs to a copy editor before I go any further. Being dyslexic, I'm not able to check through what I have written very well, so that's why I use a copy editor. And that's a great example of what I mean about making this workflow work for you. Just because what I've described works for me doesn't mean that it will work for you, but I hope it's given you some ideas and shown you the rough flow of how you can get some content made. The aim here is that you use this as a starting point and play around with it until it works for you. My advice is to start simple and slow and build it up from there. Whether it's once a week or once a month, following a workflow will help you show up consistently and build up a back catalogue of engaging content, demonstrating your expertise in ways that are very shareable on social media. So making content in different ways is more work than just sticking to your tried and tested and comfortable marketing option, but it's not 4 times the work. The different versions in different formats are all based on that same idea and often originate from that original one piece of content. So you're not doing extra research or development, you're presenting the same points in different formats, often just chopping and changing the same piece of media. At the same time, you are broadening your appeal by bringing your content and you to a much larger audience. Put simply, by expanding your range of channels, you're becoming interesting to people who had previously been uninterested. Not because what you're saying isn't of relevance to them, simply because your content wasn't presented in a way that attracted their attention. So set up the right workflow for you, one that starts in your comfort zone and then works from there. Once you've been through that workflow a few times, the routine aspect will start to kick in. Your comfort and confidence grows, and the whole process will take less and less time, and it becomes more and more enjoyable. So my invitation to you is to set up a routine that helps you break new ground. Give it a go and see how you get on. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're nervous about sharing what you've made, then maybe ask someone you trust, maybe 1 or 2 existing clients for example, on some feedback about how you're coming across before you post to those new channels. Whatever you do, I encourage you to embrace all 4 different learning styles, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by the feedback and the conversations that will flow. So if this workflow has got you thinking or inspired to make some content, then when you do share it, tag me in on social media because I'd love to see what you create. If you'd like some more inspiration on how to create content and how to use that content as part of a marketing plan, then do check out my book, Reframing Marketing. It will guide you step by step through creating an effective and ethical marketing plan. You can find out more about that book and order your copy at reframingmarketing.com. I'll see you in the next video.